I'd like to share a few youth baseball hitting tips, and I have to credit one of my high school coaches, Jim Voss, with sharing many of these with me as we worked youth baseball camps together. These are geared especially for younger players, T-ball aged or soon after, but these could be used into Little League and beyond. The principles are true for any level of baseball, but the cues themselves are geared more towards younger players, and they would help them remember some of the key principles in batting. So here is cue number 1, which is railroad tracks. So you can see in that picture, Ken Griffey Jr.'s feet are parallel. But if you say parallel to a young player, he or she probably won't know what you're talking about. But if you tell them to put their feet on the railroad tracks, most of the time they'll know what that means. In fact, for really young players, I'm thinking of 4- and 5-year-olds, I'll even draw a line on the dirt where they can put their feet. And after a while, they'll get used to how wide that is, just wider than shoulder width. And railroad tracks will be a cue that makes sense. Even between swings, sometimes a player's feet will come off of those spots that you draw for them. And if you tell them railroad tracks, it's a cue for them to look at their feet and put them right back where they were, parallel. And it's fun for them, too, to remember that. A second cue is door-knocking knuckles. And it should be said that a lot of these principles are not absolutes. So in the picture, you can see the middle knuckles are lined up. And even lined up is really not true because our knuckles don't line up absolutely. But you can see, in general, that players' door-knocking knuckles or middle knuckles are lined up. However, there is a margin there and a place where it could feel comfortable. I think you would just want to prevent a student from lining up their big knuckles, or a player from lining up their knuckles where their hands are twisted way too far around the bat and can't swing well. Generally, those middle knuckles give a grip where it is pretty easy to swing, and it gives a looser grip. It keeps a player from gripping the bat too tightly, which can be a problem, especially for younger players. So door-knocking knuckles helps younger players remember to put their hands together, number one, but also to line up those knuckles when hitting, and if it's not perfect, of course, that's okay. A third cue that I use is square to V, and a lot of players just aren't sure how to hold the bat. And by the time they start T-ball, they will know what a square is. And you tell them to put their arm like the corner of a square, because 90-degree angle doesn't mean much to a 5- or 6-year-old. But a square, a corner of a square, they'll know what that is. And square to V, you can demonstrate, if they don't know their letters, what a V looks like. Right here is the V that we're looking for. And technically, the V doesn't happen until after contact. In this particular example right here, this image, this is an outside pitch, so the V is happening as contact happens. But typically, you'd hit it out here in front, and you would notice that in other pictures, at contact, it is not a V yet, but in your follow-through, it would become a V. So the V technically happens after contact, but square to V will help players remember not to loop their bat way around or drop it down. You go right from square directly to V. Get from square to V as quickly as you can if you're doing drills is a helpful one. A third cue I like to use, and players like this, is called Mike to Ike. So we name their front shoulder Mike, and if you can be goofy in practice, they tend to like this. Mike, you can see the front shoulder, and Ike is the back shoulder, and you want to make sure you meet Mike and Ike. And really, it has little to do with the chin and all to do with the eyes. You want the eyes tracking the ball all the way to contact, when technically, again, your eyes can't see contact. However, it happens too quickly. You want to have your eyes in that direction. They'll blink, of course, but they need to meet Mike, the front shoulder, and meet Ike. It prevents them also from pulling their head out as they swing and taking eyes off of the ball along with the head. So that's cue number 4. And finally, Squish the Bug, which, if you get technical, it is not the motion that you want or need to have. You really want your hips to move so that your back foot cannot stay down on the ground. So if you would look at Albert Pujols, this is him when he still played for the Cardinals, if you would see him as he makes contact, his foot is actually straight up and down, and this is only after it's returned to the ground. But he has moved his hips in such a way that it automatically turns that back foot. So the squishing is actually happening because your hips are moving. But for a young player, if you tell them to squish the bug, a lot of times they will rotate their hips as they swing. And so these are some cues that have helped me in coaching young players, and just quick reminders. You can't give a player too much to think about when she or he is hitting, but you can give them little feedback. Hey, door knocking knuckles, you see that their hands are far apart, or railroad tracks, because you can tell right away if their feet stay the way they are, there's no way they'll be successful. These are some helpful cues, some simple cues that can help in teaching hitting to young players. Thank you for watching.